SAS commandos deployed to Ukraine as Russia could launch invasion within the next 10 days with 120,000 soldiers. SAS commandos have been deployed to Ukraine as fears loom. Russia is on the brink of launching an invasion. More than 100 troops from Britain's elite special forces reportedly have been sent to the former Soviet state to help bolster its defences. SAS commandos have been deployed to Ukraine. Stock image, credit, Getty. Commandos from the SAS, SBS, the Special Reconnaissance Regiment and the Special Forces Support Group are working in Ukraine, reports the Sunday Mirror. The elite troopers are understood to be working as advisors, helping to train Kiev's own special forces. Sniper tactics, insurgency training, and saboteur strategies are all reported part of the exercises. It comes as intelligence warned that Putin has laid out a plot to create a puppet state should he invade Ukraine. And meanwhile, US sources reportedly said Russia's forces are 70% ready to strike, and will likely be fully prepared by February 15. It gives Ukraine potentially less than 10 days to fully prepare themselves for an invasion, with warnings thousands could die. British special forces are reported to have been deployed in force to Ukraine after being withdrawn from Afghanistan. UK special forces have been deployed to the region to help and advise the Ukrainian military, a source said. They have a wide skill set which will no doubt be very useful to the Ukrainian forces. Meanwhile, at least 1,500 winter-trained British squaddies have now moved to Estonia. US intelligence sources are reported to believe that Putin now has 83 battle groups around Ukraine, with another 14 currently on the move. Putin's forces will be fully operational by February 15, they said, and Putin is expected to use 120 battle groups in the invasion. It is expected some 50,000 civilians would be killed or wounded in the first few weeks of the war, and up to 5 million refugees would be displaced. Ukraine is currently training its equivalent of Britain's World War II-era Home Guard, a civilian force of reserves, to protect their cities. Russia has always denied any aggressive intent to Ukraine. But despite this, the troop buildup continues, with Russian forces also massing in nearby Belarus. Field hospitals and camps have been set up on Russia's side of the border, further fueling fears of an imminent invasion. It follows a flurry of cyber attacks and flashes of violence in the Donbas region. The Donbas has been at war since 2014 as Russian-backed separatists fight to break away from the Ukraine. Kiev and Moscow have been feuding for the past 8 years as Russia doesn't like the fact Ukraine is becoming closer to the West. Both former Soviet states used to be allies, but Ukraine's government now seeks to draw closer ties to the US, UK and Europe, potentially even joining NATO. Paranoid leader Vlad sees Kiev signing up for the defensive alliance as a direct threat to Russia. Ukraine's leaders have urged their people not to panic as the shadow of invasion looms, but they are taking no chances. Meanwhile, new intelligence report today claimed Russia has put together a secret war plan for invasion and total conquest of Ukraine. As reported in the German publication Bild, a foreign intelligence service says it has gathered details of Russia's post-war plans for Ukraine, which it says are currently being discussed in top Russian military circles. Even though Russia has not invaded Ukraine, preparations for this scenario are already underway. According to the report, the Russian army plans to encircle and besiege Ukraine's major cities after destroying the country's forces in the field. After this, Secret Service sleeper cells already smuggled into Ukraine, as well as local politicians loyal to Vladimir Putin, would be activated in the towns, while Secret Service agents would penetrate into the cities. They would have the task of establishing pro-Russia leaderships in the cities which would then agree on the surrender and handover to the Russian occupiers. According to Bild, Russian intelligence forces would next seize strategic facilities, eliminate threats, recruit those willing to cooperate and establish a new leadership in the conquered cities. This practice would be used in all of Ukraine's key cities until all of them peacefully came under Russian control. A service member of the Ukrainian armed forces walks in a trench. Credit, Reuters. Following the capture of Ukraine's cities, the report states, Putin plans to set up a puppet parliament in the country, a so-called People's Rada. This would replace the Ukrainian parliament and declare it null and void. Out of this sham parliament would emerge a backup government which would rule the country according to Russia's will. Next, would follow the darkest stage of Putin's alleged plans, the breaking of ordinary Ukrainians' resistance by the puppet government. Camps for the detention of pro-Ukrainian activists are allegedly already being planned, with lists drawn up of who will be locked up. It is alleged that Russia's security service the FSB is currently training pro-Russian groups for deployment in Ukraine and that Putin has tasked them with recruiting Ukrainian politicians and eliminating opponents of the Kremlin. The end goal of this invasion would be the calling of the nationwide referendum on absorbing Ukraine into Russia. According to the report, a full-scale invasion is currently the most likely scenario. Military expert Robert Lee from King's College London told Bild, Russia will probably have most of the armed forces it plans to deploy in a week and could then escalate the situation in the short term if it so chooses. Russia's embassy has denied any such plan to invade and take over Ukraine, branding the report a strange mixture of speculation and rumors that the embassy fundamentally does not comment on.